At Arm's Reach is intended to focus on the frigate meta of faction warfare low-sec. My intention is to provide a resource to newer players or players looking for a starting place to learn solo PvP. My fits and commentary will keep in mind and be directed towards characters with low skill points and inexperience in this area. I will be focusing on scram kiting, which is fighting within the range of 10 kilometers. I will specifically emphasize fighting within the range of 7 to 10 kilometers. I believe that scram kiting is an effective way for newer players to learn the basics while remaining competitive in the current meta for a number of reasons. First, fighting in this range reduces incoming damage, relieving stress on tanking modules and giving more room for error. Second, being at the edge of scram range allows for a lack of commitment to a fight, and the potential to disengage quickly if needed. Third, poor fitting or navigation skills are not penalized as severely and can be compensated for using fitting modules if needed. And lastly, I'll show how preparation and knowledge, not skill points, will lead to success. In this first episode, I will be focusing on a double web rail Merlin fit. I believe this fit makes up for many of the weaknesses of the Merlin and compensates quite well for low skill points, especially in the area of navigation. The low base speed of the Merlin often results in blasters being unable to apply effective damage and can leave you vulnerable to small energy neutralizer pressure. This fit focuses on applying damage around 7.5 kilometers and is well outside the damage range of blasters and autocannons. The use of two webs allows the opportunity for escape if you're losing the fight, and the high volley damage of railguns helps to eliminate other active tanked frigates. Now this fit is rather linear. There's one particular way to fly it, and it excels at flying it that way. I think this is actually helpful for new players because it cuts down on your decision making. While versatile fits are very strong because they can apply in different situations, you need to have experience and know which decision to make. With a fit like this, you focus on applying damage or running away, and that gives you experience as you learn what kinds of ships you can fight, what kinds of ships you can engage, and what kind of fits counter your fit, so you can really start to learn how to PvP and some of the basic structure of PvP. Later on, we'll get into fits that are more versatile and give you some more options for engaging different kinds of ships and in different ways that will be a little bit more powerful, but of course require a lot more decision making. Alright, let's take a look at some fights. I'm going to display a number of different situations that you're going to encounter a lot as you venture into solo PvP, especially in frigates. The first of which is, I'm inside of a Plex and I'm aligned to a Celestial, keeping in mind where I'm aligned to so that I can always pull range and leave. Now, I'd seen this Comet and a couple of Firetails running around system. The Comet came in first, and I decided to engage. If his friends don't show up, it's not a problem. Now I check to see that he is blaster fit, and I know that he's going to have a really hard time applying damage to me. Damage is going to be relatively low, and I can sustain this, not a problem. However, these Firetails start to show up on D-scan, and I know that it's only a matter of time until they land and get engaged in the fight. Now I cannot take 3 faction frigates all at one time, so I decide to pull range and warp away. Now I want to showcase how easy it is to pull away given that you have the 2 webs, from a frigate that normally would be much faster. I overheat the webs just to pull some extra range before warping off. Now those Firetails were MWD fit, and if I had allowed them to get in range, start applying damage, then it would have been an issue. In this next fight, I have a kitey frigate that's warping in on me. So really important, I get right on the beacon, I position myself in a situation where I'm more likely to catch them. I have my webs, afterburner, and my scram overheated. That way, as they land, I'm able to lock them up, accelerate quickly towards them, and get tackle on this slicer immediately. Anytime you're facing a kitey frigate and you're in an afterburning ship, it's very important to react quickly and be in a position that is suitable for you to start applying damage before they get to range. If they get to range, then they'll be in full control of the situation, and I always carry Spike as a deterrent, but it's really not going to be enough to finish out the fight or to kill them. It's just going to deter them, maybe cause them to warp away. but it really won't secure the fight. So positioning is key there, and being ready with everything overheated and reacting quickly as they land, targeting them, approaching, and getting that tackle locked down at the beginning of the fight. Now here in this next fight, I'm already inside of a Plex, and I've got this comet that warps in. Now I want to show from positioning, it gives you time to react, to look at their guns and determine exactly what kind of setup they are. You watch the velocity and determine what kind of propulsion system they have, and then start to strategize a plan. Now I also have a Kestrel and a Stabber on D-scan. The Kestrel may be a bit of an issue if the Kestrel comes in quickly enough and decides to engage. I've overheated my web that way. As he gets close to me, I'm able to web him off a little bit farther away and potentially extend that fight, get as much damage on early in the fight as I can before really committing. Now the Kestrel is landed, which for me is a little bit of a concern. If this Kestrel is able to apply damage from a long range, that's extra damage in the fight that I really don't have the ability to tank. I only have a single ancillary armor repper. So I'm being mindful and I'm staying aligned out to this planet. I'm watching what the speed of the Kestrel is. For instance, if he starts targeting me and looking for any extra damage. And then I'm just keeping mind of keeping tackle on this comet, overheating so that I'm getting as much damage to the comet as possible. And I'm, again, watching the speed of this Kestrel. I see that he's relatively slow. His speed is not an MWD speed, so he's not going to be getting to the fight very quickly. And even if he does get to the fight, he's not going to be applying damage very quickly, and I could potentially leave. So here, my nanite paste and my repper is completely run out. My heat in my guns is very, very low. Like, I've got very little extra heat left. And so I start to pull range, and I'm looking at potential situations. Can I fight this Kestrel? Can I fight this comet? So I check the guns on the comet. Comet is blaster fit, so I decide to stick around. Now the Kestrel is warped off, so that's a good sign to me that they're not together, that this Kestrel is not going to be involved in the next situation, and I'm sticking around to see what could potentially happen. I actually mess around with this comet a little bit more later, and he decided not to engage, decided not to fight. So I checked the fit also just to see if there was any nanite that dropped or anything like that. Now this last fight I think is really cool because it highlights the ability of having two webs and really take some really cool engagements against extra numbers that you normally wouldn't be able to. When I first landed, I looked at the position of the Executioner and the Punisher and how they were spread out. So I start to pull away back towards the sun, knowing that both of them will come after me, and I target the Executioner first. I put as much damage on the Executioner because they generally will have more damage. The Executioner has a web, which is kind of scary for me when fighting outnumbered, and will also have a lighter tank. So by finishing off the Executioner first, now this becomes a single 1 versus 1, where it was a little bit more of a precarious situation. And I tried to spread them out so that the Punisher was always on the opposite side of the Executioner, allowing me to face the Executioner more or less isolated, and now I'm able to fight this Punisher. It's a little bit grueling, and I start to have some issues with capacitor, so you see I turn off one of my webs here. Knowing that the Punisher only has 2 mid slots, I assume that one of them is a propulsion module, and the other one is a scram that he has on me. So by problem solving and using logic, I'm able to figure out that I really don't need both my webs running in order to maintain tackle. Now I'm running out of cap and my heat is getting relatively low and my guns actually shut off. So very quickly I just turn them back on, overheat, and that's enough to finish out this fight. But it gives you some really cool and very interesting engagements based on positioning and using some of your knowledge as you get more experienced to take fights that seem a little one-sided or a little bit dangerous. So anyway, I just think that's one of the highlights of a T1 frigate, and in particular this fit being very useful and strong in different situations, being able to take on a lot of different variety of ships and engagements. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Did you bag the hand that feeds you? Do you feel the need to talk about it? Now you're fighting for your corner, saying that you ought to laugh about it. You should get a little braver, do us all a favor, shout about it. Sweet sour, sweet sour, sweet sour. Pick up your stitches, better than your riches, think about it. I know what you've been through, you don't really need to talk about it. It's just a little karma, trying to disarm you, shout about it. Sweet sour, sweet sour, sweet sour, sweet sour, sweet sour, sweet sour. Sour by the minute, but you're sweeter by the hour. You were none the wiser, even though you tried to understand it. And try another spoonful, love is to be truthful, dance around it. It's just a little karma, trying to disarm you, shout about it. Sweet sour, sour by the minute, but you're sweeter by the hour. Sweet sour, 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 sour by the minute, but you're sweeter by the hour. She grew up in a nice neighborhood, but it didn't do her no good. 'Cause she's just a sum of her influence, and I can't tell you the difference by the cracked windscreen on her car. Stunning is telling you don't know how lucky you are. You're just like the rest of those girls. They're all death by diamonds and death by diamonds and death by diamonds and death by diamonds and pearls. Death by diamonds and pearls. You got your figure all nice, but the heart stays colder than ice. You got 25 grand on the bubble, and you're the one telling me that you don't think you're in trouble. I might be a fan of your insolence, but that don't make you the innocent. You're just like the rest of those girls. They're all
Thank you everyone for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also check out some other really cool EVE YouTube channels. See you next time.